Do you want to
Caitlin?
go for a run?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go. Gotta get the run keeper going. How's it going?
All right.
Yeah?
So, it turns out this is a great day. I was afraid we're going to have to wait for some rain to go through, but it went through quickly.
Yeah. Ah. Nice cool air. A little humid. All right, so here's the first question.
Yeah, okay, Caitlin.
I think the people want to know, what is a day in the life of Ted Bell like?
Well, frequently I'm out running in the morning. I'm not really a morning person, but I try to push myself to get it going earlier. Sometimes I succeed, but run from home usually, and then after that could be lots of things. I have to keep myself busy, reading a lot. I've got a workshop that I like to work on various projects.
Wow. So Ted, I think we all know that you're a runner extraordinaire, but
Well, I don't know about that.
can you tell us a little bit about your background, like what you did for work back in the day?
Yeah, back in the day, way back. So I started out of college, went into the Air Force, and it turned into a career for 20 years.
Amazing.
After that, I stayed working in defense, so for a small company first, and then Raytheon for the last 11 years until I retired in 2011.
I don't think I knew about Raytheon either. We got a lot of those on the team.
Well, yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, that's basically how I heard about Striders, probably, because I knew Jim McKenna back at Raytheon and Todd Gitterman,
Yeah.
and that's how it happened, really.
And so, a real quick question follow-up. Thank you for your service. How has that impacted, the rest of your life, doing that for 20 years?
No, I mean, it was a good career. I was always on the R&D side, or the intel for one assignment, and so I don't think it was a big impact. Although we've had a good run at that time and since.
All right, we're doing a running question this time.
Okay.
So, want to do another background question. Can you tell us about your family life?
Well, I'm really blessed with a great family. Ann and I have been married going on 47 years now.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we're lucky enough to have 3 great daughters who are all out on their own now with families of their own. So 5 grandchildren.
Wow.
And that's really a lot of fun.
What a blessing. Oh wow, drink water. I know that there was a big thing about drinking milk years back. What do you do for hydrating on runs, Ted?
Most of the time I wait till I get back home. So I don't like carrying stuff.
Yeah.
And so I've tried water bottles, all different kinds, and I never like carrying them.
Not a
I
fan.
have, at times on long runs, I've stashed water in the middle somewhere. That's most of the time I wait till the end.
Clever. All right, we're gonna stop here. Okay, so next question. What would Striders not know about you?
Well, I think most of them probably wouldn't know that I grew up out in Idaho in the Pacific Northwest, and actually in a country outside a small college town in Idaho, Moscow, Idaho, University of Idaho.
Yeah.
And that was some good experiences there. 4-H club. We had a couple of horses most of the time, and got acquainted with tractors and hay bales and all that kind of stuff. And they probably also don't know that I used to work at a golf course.
Huh. Interesting.
And I never got into playing golf myself. I tried it several times, and it's just not for me. But anyway, I worked for like 6 years when I was in high school and college, doing all the golf course maintenance stuff, mowing greens and fairways and setting pins.
I'm sure that some Striders are going to come to you for help.
Well, not. I don't think anybody wants to be mowing the grass.
So, a little monologue to start. A lot of HCS knows Ted as HCS's sweetheart. He is probably the kindest man I've ever met in the running world. Sorry, guys. He's also a bit of a local legend because he constantly wins his age group when he's running, TB 75, well into his 75th year, and has quite a few of the HCS Grand Veterans records. And I know you are a humble man, so you probably hate that I'm doing this right now. So talking about HCS, how long have you been on the team? And tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, it really started back when I heard about Highland City Striders, probably about 19. Well, no, actually, after I was at Raytheon, just before I retired, and then turns out I did do the Running with the Wolves race back in 2010 and again in 2012. But I really started with Highland City Striders as a member in 2013, and so that's 8 years ago. And I was looking back, I can remember now the first time I did the Saturday run, and it was the Galoni Park route, and I remember it well because the first time you come into this hill on Stowe Road, that got to me. So the hill is still there, and I've run it many times since, but at least I know what I'm in for now.
So rumor has it during the pandemic you did a streaking, Ted, and not of the traditional streaking that people might think. Can you tell us about that?
Well, it definitely wasn't a traditional kind of streaking. In fact, I didn't know what Dave was talking about at first. But I guess I did do a lot of running and a lot of days in a row. And a year ago, in fact, I did 100 days in a row. What our Veep calls streaking. So that was good. And then in this past year, both Ann and I got into this virtual 750-mile run, to be done in 6 months and it was laid out in a path from Boston to Bar Harbor. So actually Ann did it and quicker than I did. She was walking most of the way, but did like over 6 miles a day averaging, I think.
Wow.
But I did finish it in the 6 months, and that felt good.
Very cool. All right, Ted, can you tell us a little bit about what's your favorite race distance and what might be your most memorable race of all time?
I'm not sure I really have a favorite distance. I'm pretty sure I'm never going to do another marathon, and I've done 4 altogether, but that was back in 1995 to 1998, and so I have recently done a couple half marathons, and I might be able to do that again, but anything shorter than that would be okay. But I don't really care that much. I'm not that technical, I guess. But as far as memorable races, there's lots of them to pick from. But one that's really memorable, and I don't think many striders would be familiar with it, is that back in 2009, Ann and I went out to Boise, Idaho, and we did the race to Roby Creek, which is pretty famous out in that area, and it sells out every year in about an hour and a half after it goes online. And it's really tough, a half marathon starting near the Capitol in the city, and it goes up over the hill. It's about 2,500 feet elevation going up for the first half, and you go back down the second half, and then they have a great party and they bring you back to the city on a bus. So that was pretty memorable, and especially because we went with our daughter Jennifer and her husband Tony.
Very memorable. So can you tell us about some of your favorite gear that you like to wear on your runs? You know, footwear might be one area that we're interested in.
Well, I have very interesting feet, right? No, I probably, as long as it's comfortable, I really don't care about the stuff I wear usually. Usually mostly running shirts from races. I guess one thing that's essential for me is the hat. I need it for the sweatband, and I need it for the visor over my glasses. And I've got this red hat that I've worn for too many years. I probably need a new one. You probably have noticed.
Becomes a good luck charm.
Yeah, maybe.
So we talked about you being a streaker during the pandemic and things that you like to run with. What about the Runkeeper app? We want to hear about that.
Well, I guess it's kind of unusual, I think, because I don't see very many people doing it. But I always run with my phone in my hand, and it just feels comfortable. I've tried different pouches and things that go on my arm or my upper arm, and it's just very comfortable. So in fact I recorded the BAA half marathon on my hand with the phone for the whole 13 miles. So, but I've used Runkeeper and it's been great for me. I actually started using that back in 2013, and I think the very first several runs I did with Runkeeper I recorded while we were on a trip for Habitat for Humanity in Mozambique in 2013. So that's kind of interesting.
I think we're thankful for that because Ted always takes our pictures on runs too. So we just mentioned Habitat for Humanity. We're bringing a guest appearance in. This is Ted's wife, Ann. We want to talk a little bit about your Habitat for Humanity experiences.
Okay, so actually, way back, Ann was going to do one first by herself, and she had signed up for it, but then had to to change, and then it turned out that we did one together, and I believe it was 2006. We went to Honduras, and the thing is, so we've done an international trip where we almost every year. It was another streak for
Till the pandemic.
for 14 years, I think, until 2019 was the last one we did.
And that was in Portugal.
And that
Yeah.
was this pandemic has interfered with that ever since that time. And of course, Habitat for Humanity's had to adapt. They haven't got back to having the international trips going on.
If there's anyone that's not familiar, can you guys tell us what Habitat for Humanity is?
It's an organization that started quite a while ago down in Georgia, and they promote better housing for people all over the world. And there are a lot of affiliates in various countries around the world that work with Habitat for Humanity.
And their philosophy is that they don't believe in, they give no interest loans. The people have to buy their house, and they have to put in 500 hours of sweat equity in the building of the house. But and then we donate to go, and that pays for the materials.
So I think the people want to know, I want to hear from each of you, which was your favorite trip. So we'll start with Ted first.
Okay, well, I really liked the one we did in Cambodia, just because it's such a different place, and it was a good experience. We had a good team, and that's part of it. We always have a good team of people to work with, and it's interesting to meet them and the people we're helping in the country.
For me, it was Mozambique, and I liked it because the native language is Portuguese, and I've been taking Portuguese lessons, and so the ladies were all talking with each other, and they were helping out, doing their sweat equity in whatever the native language was.
Very cool.
But I said to her something like, she was singing a song in her native language, and I said, "Oh, that's pretty," and I said it in Portuguese, and we talked for just a minute. She said, "Oh, that's my child over there with the other mothers," and I said, "That's my husband over there building." And it was like, they call that like a habitat minute, where
That's awesome.
where you kind of connect
Yeah,
with people, and that was my favorite.
how special. Can you tell us a little more about additional volunteering that you do?
Well, yeah, a couple years ago, I started volunteering locally with the Worcester section of Habitat for Humanity, and they have had what they call a restore, where they sell donated items and for housing to the general public, by the way, at Worcester. And they started a store in Ashland about 2.5 years ago, I believe. And I started volunteering there, helping organize the store and getting things ready to sell, that kind of thing. And it's a good activity, and it's good for the community.
So as I'm sitting here with the Tom Brady of the HCS and running community, TB75, I think the people want to know how they can continue running so well into their 70s and have longevity in their running journeys.
Well, I guess actually I'm not sure. I think maybe I'm just lucky in some ways, and I don't know how else I can describe it, but I think I just feel like I've been very lucky and fortunate to avoid injuries for the most part. That's the big thing. I think I didn't get started running running at least consistently until I was in my early 40s, I think. And it took a long time for me to get to the point where I could go out for a run and feel good afterwards and then still feel good the next day. And what I finally found is if you just go slow and don't extend it too much and then just increase it gradually and gradually, I actually felt better the next day when I ran. And that's the way it's worked out.
There you go. If you want to be a legend like this guy, start slow.
Absolutely.
So Ted, what's next on the running agenda? What's next on the race list?
Well, actually, I just last night, in fact, I signed up to do Mount Wachusett. That's coming up August 8th, I think. And I've done it a couple times before, and never been fast, and I'm sure I won't beat them this time. But it's a long hill going up. I'll be walking part of the way. But that's coming up, and then I want to try to do most of the Strider race series this year.
So if you want to run with the legend, sign up. So Ted, what do you do for fun that isn't running? I know that's a big part of your life, but what else do you interest in?
Well, it seems like I have a lot of different hobbies that I get into. I really like working with tools, woodworking type things, and that sort of thing. Like at the start of the pandemic, in fact, I made a couple tables. A couple of them are right here.
Those are nice tables too.
And let's see, I like to read a lot. I do a lot of reading. Those are the main things.
Nice, very nice. What's your favorite part of being a Strider? Is there something that you've done that you've loved?
Well, I really like a lot of stuff about Striders, but the working at the races that we put on is always a highlight, and the volunteering that we've done, and especially the volunteering for the BAA events has really been great. And I think of all of those, the first time we did the street crossing for the marathon, that was a great day. It was a beautiful day, and of course we had a great team, and we worked well. I think that was the one we had the video that went viral, and that was fantastic, I think. I've been seeing the highlights on the news and so forth.
It's hard with the time difference. You ever been to Japan?